Alrighty, I'm gonna try to get this started real quick. I do apologize. I didn't update this last week. I did have some things going on that I had to take care of. But we're gonna take a quick look at a couple of assets, and we're gonna update how we've been following along with the 19, how it works. So yeah, let's just kind of jump right on in. I'm gonna start off with Bitcoin, like I often do, and we'll kind of move around from there. Um, right now, we're on the weekly chart. This is the chart that I kind of course, recommend that most people use. The best time frame to execute this on. Um, Easier to follow, less trades you ever have to make. Um, but yeah, we just kind of go back in time. Of course, we've been mentioning this for some time now, but this was our ultimate break of the 19 that turned the trend. And we've had all this play out kind of since. So there's really nothing to tell, right? We've seen a little attempt at retrace. We saw it actually kind of like use this. I think I'm using the 11 right now. Yeah, so we see it use that 11 as the resistance. Fell back off. We made another attempt at a recovery, came right back, used the 11 as resistance again, right? So there's literally been nothing to do in this range but accumulate and keep accumulating, right? We won't have a market trend turn on Bitcoin till about 25,000. So we just kind of wait. Some of the things we did see over time, we did see this cross play out, right? They told us this momentum was going to continue. We actually saw this recent cross kind of play out, right? This, if you can see that line there, here we saw that cross also play out, um, letting us know that this downward momentum is going to continue. We can also see them all still playing out here. So until we kind of clear these moving averages, potentially all grouping up and moving under this particular beige line here, we could continue to see some downward momentum as well as some, accumulation in these ranges, because each one of these crosses is going to continue this momentum downward. What we're ultimately looking to see when we know that this thing is actually going to take off is price to get above this weekly 19, right? But not just to get above it. What we're really going to be looking for the all go moment is this white line, which is the 3, right? It'll also cross first, and then our 9 will cross, right? And when we get those moments, as well as establishing price above this 19, I would say we kind of have turned that market trend back to bullish, right? And so that's ultimately what we're waiting for. Down here, we're just accumulating. We do have a kind of, support area going on here. So I'm going to go up to our monthly chart and identify the supports, in case for some reason or any reason, since the economy and everything looks to be so horrible, right? If for any reason we lose this area here at about 18.5, right? That would be very bad, right? And I'm not just talking about particularly wicks, even though price going under is going under. So it could be an actionable move here, but it puts this particular moving average on the table, which is sitting at about 15.5. So if we start to get price descending past here, particularly establishing new candles under here, then that's going to put this on the table. So just kind of always be advised, if you're interested in trying to protect some of your portfolio, you have this range in here if we happen to lose this. Right now, it's been holding as very long support. And when I say very long support, if I zoom out and let y'all look at this entirely, right, we can come back here, identify this very same line that when the economy did its, horrible push down during COVID, in the stock market and everything did its horrible push down, crypto did at the same time. But then we use this line as support during that most, bearish moment, right? And if I zoom back in history over these moving averages, right, we can see that over time price kind of went up in time, right, on these moving averages. So this red one here was our lowest point of 2019, coming off of our all-time highs from 2018, 2017, 2018, right? So this became our all-time low at this moving average, right? And then as we lost that, this became our support at this moving average. And we went in time bullish, right? But then as soon as things went bad, we came right back to that same point. So this is just historically has been holding. The important thing that I want people to understand is if for any reason it does break, it's going to put 15, 3 on the table. And if for any reason that breaks, our worst case scenario, and I normally don't even show this, but you can see it indicated here. Our worst case scenario would be 10-5, right? So I don't anticipate any of these, playing out at this particular time. If we happen to lose this 18-3 area, then I'll be making appropriate moves and with this information in mind, right? But I did want y'all to see that you can actually identify these supports. Same algorithm. We don't have to go around changing anything. We just jumped up to a higher time frame. It's always important to zoom out as much as possible. You don't want to be looking at this from these shorter time frames. Like zoom out and this stuff becomes real easy. So if you were, you're not going to catch tops and bottoms. This is not a design to do that, right? But it's designed to identify the trend. So if you had the patience and you were using this monthly chart, there would have been, and using this methodology, right, you would have seen an easy breakdown here of the 19 at about 6,000, came down here, bottomed out at about 3,000. So that was an easy pickup of additional Bitcoin, right? You can see the trend actually turn here. You had price break above. And as I mentioned in the other portion of this, right, you actually have the 3 and the 9 cross to confirm that. And bam, you went bullish, right? You started kind of level off here. You had some trades you had to make. Boom. You got paid a lot more Bitcoin here when it broke down again under the 19. Broke back above the 19, went bullish. You went to all-time high, used 19 as support. You had a few trades that was in that kind of indecisive moment, went bear here, broke down, never recovered, and you're right now currently making you a lot more Bitcoin. So it's just how it works, right? And so you can see where these actual potential lower supports are, but we're not even interested in these because this is historically holding. So until this is lost, we're all good. We're looking for a recovery. And on this monthly chart, we don't actually see any recovery. If we kind of look here just real quick, we see the 3 crossing, could potentially cross here and continue some more downward momentum. We've already got the 9 that crossed here, which continued a lot of this. If this 9 were to cross here, would be bad. So everything is still indicating this downward direction. We have nothing that's indicating a trend here. Like every moving average is pointing down. Even some of your long ones have leveled off. But if it continues, even these could turn down, right? So yeah, we're in a downtrend. There's no doubt about it, being caused by the dollar. So I'm going to quickly jump over here. It's something that I often talk about. But until the dollar cools off, crypto, in my opinion, is going to kind of stay in this bearish trend, right? So if you were looking here and using this as an indicator of the market trend, bearish or bullish, we have been bearish in crypto since September 21, in my opinion, when the dollar broke out here and it went on this parabolic move to the upside. So I'm looking for the dollar to cool off before I have any expectations on crypto. So using this method, you can kind of, ease your anxieties, or if you have any kind of tendency to be pushed into FOMO by just your own expectations or kind of watching influencers, you're not going to miss out anything, right? Because again, prices are not going to run off on you while the dollar is still hot. So this is my indicator. If you were trading a dollar, you could have took your move here as it broke the 19, easy call. Same here. If you were shorting the dollar, we see a clear breakdown here. You could have made a lot of money here. So even with the dollar, the methodology works, but I'm using this right now just to show you that we're waiting for the dollar to cool off. You don't want to really look for the dollar to cool off on the longer time frames per se, because you want an early indicator of when it's going to break down. So if you jump over to the weekly, which is the one that is the most important, what we're waiting for to confirm that the dollar has cooled off is when it breaks essentially here at 105. Right. So if we can get the dollar currently under, well, we kind of say 106. If it breaks 106, right, then it kind of went back into its bearish trend and crypto should have reversed in the opposite direction. So we've been waiting for this for quite some time. This is, when trading gets boring, right? Because you can go a long time without actually having these moves that can be identified with some accuracy, right? So here, like I said, if you were trading a dollar, you would have had that clear indicator here. We see the same move that I was talking about on Bitcoin that we're waiting for, priced on the weekly, right? To break above, confirmed by the white and blue line crossing at the same time. That thing went bullish, used the 19 as support as it went parabolic all the way up. Actually, even used the 9 as support here, which is indicator of additional strength, right? Because it's, that would have been a weaker strength and it goes down in time. This shows kind of higher strength because it didn't even have to use the 19, and we can see what that strength did. Come here, we had a little downtrend, used the 9 as support again, and that strength turned into more positive momentum. So we're waiting to see if this dollar is going to break down for crypto to turn. I'm going to quickly jump over here to XRP. Just a moment. All right, so for our XRP family, we're starting off here on the weekly chart. We see a clear breakdown back here in April. We have nothing to do since but continue to take advantage of these great new prices. If you sold here, got you a nice win. All we're looking for now is confirmation of this thing turning back, which we shouldn't see until 41 cents at our current time. Now, as you notice, as you're using these kind of confirmations over time, right? We've been doing the videos and sometimes that was here, right? And so it would have took us 55 to turn the trend. And over time, it would have been here, right? And it would have took us 47 to turn the trend. And we're working that average down. But at any point, if it gets above here, like at 41, then we can kind of get back into the bullish momentum. Of course, we want to confirm that by that white and that blue line also crossing as well. And so that's what we're waiting for. Nothing really to show here. In the meantime, in between time, because it's just not happening, right? So we don't have to worry about the FOMO crowd thinking you're going to miss anything out of your own sentiment. We are still seeing crosses here that's dragging us down. We see this cross happen here. It's continuing to drag us down. So it's really not much to say other than we can see it use this 11 as that resistance as we're kind of in this accumulation range. So people who are kind of controlling this market, whether it's individuals or a collective, are just saying at this particular time, the way that I interpret this information is the highest price I kind of want to pay is wherever this blue line is. And the lowest price somebody's going to let me get is around this area, right? Because then so many people buy that it ends up putting you into this volatility range of this daily average volatility or weekly average volatility in this case, right? So we're just waiting. I will jump up to the monthly so we can also see the supports and what we can kind of expect. So all that white line cross gave us our downward momentum. All this blue line continuing to cross gave us our downward momentum. We don't have an impending cross right now to this area, so it doesn't look like we're really in danger of cross momentum going. And we can obviously see our very identified support. It's a new support, so it's a very short line if you can see it there, but it's this little blue thing here. Maybe I can change this pointer. All right. So yeah, it's this little blue thing here. And so we got a clear identified support on a monthly chart that has been actually holding, right? And until we lose this, right, we're really not in the danger of kind of going any lower. So this is our very important range. We're say kind of sitting at, 30 cents. We happen to lose 30 cents or this 29 area because I don't have my line on here now, but 29.80 area. And that puts a lot of lower price ranges on chart because we can actually violate these moving averages, as we can see historically. Like you can go under the last moving average in a very bearish scenario, right? So there's nothing here to prevent price from going here, but we just want to know that it's safe to kind of buy in this area so we can accumulate, waiting for these price ranges to come back when we get these moves up. If for some reason we lose this area, then yeah, it may be beneficial to take some off the table and rebuy in these lower price ranges, because we know there's nothing stopping price from going down here under the right market conditions. And so we just want to be prepared for it. Nothing to sell now until we break this range, and just continue to buy if you're a buyer, so that you can make more profit when this thing turns around. So it's a very kind of good risk reward ratio, for, in my opinion, to be buying in this area, because you're getting very, very low prices that you can quickly protect by any move downward, and you start to pick up coins that you don't have to pay for. And if the thing happens to turn around, all of that you've been stacking right here is going to make you some good returns as it recovers and retraces up. So everything is looking great. I will kind of peep over here to the, no, that's not the right one. Oh, no, that was it. I want to show the XRP Bitcoin chart, because I have been watching this, and I may have talked about this in previous videos, but it's something that I've certainly been watching for a while. So I want to quickly cover that. Because ultimately, you're not just evaluating the price of XRP against the dollar, right? You're also comparing it to the price of particularly any other asset, but in this case, particularly Bitcoin being one of the strongest assets in the market, ETH being the strongest over some actual last almost 2 years or so. But in this case, of course, we all know how strong Bitcoin is as well, right? So if we kind of look back historically, like when things kind of have went bad for price, and I'll zoom this out a little bit, when things have went bad for XRP price, it is because we have lost this 19, right? The cross price, the blue line and white line, everything happened, and we lost all that momentum. Bitcoin took over the show and pushed our prices way down, right? And so this was doing the real bearish trend after the all-time high of 2018. And we just kind of came down, some attempts at recovery, and we got to this moment. For anybody who may kind of remember this area, this is when Flare started announcing their intentions to do a snapshot in the future, stuff like that. And so people were kind of like piling into XRP in anticipation of getting some free Flare, right? And so there were some other things going on, optimism. It wasn't just that, but whatever it was, we saw this move. And again, this is against Bitcoin, so it's not just the dollar. And it ran up to about 4,100 Satoshis or so, which is something we hadn't seen for quite some time, not to mention how positive it was for price action, right? So as we moved over in time, right, and we got here, we know eventually what happened, right? The SEC sued Ripple, scared a lot of people out of their positions. A lot of people were holding big positions for like hedge funds who couldn't legally hold it, whatever their case may be, compliance issues. They all sold out, and bam, XRP lost a lot of its price action to Bitcoin, right? And stayed in here, because these are weeks, right? Stayed in this kind of range for quite some time, eventually to recover here, right? Even against Bitcoin. And we ran back up into some of these higher areas, even during the lawsuit, right? So this was a kind of important time to show that even under the worst conditions for Ripple, right, if the community of believers and opportunists and all the people who make up this community are buying the asset, believing in the asset, using the asset, doesn't kind of matter what Ripple's situation is. But nonetheless, getting back to the price action of this, we had a little take profit kind of action, I would like to call it, in this area after this big move up. Kind of settled here, went back bullish as we were kind of setting some recent highs with the USD price, and kind of making our move against even Bitcoin. So when this thing goes and gets positive, right, it can run even against Bitcoin, much less the dollar, right? Bad thing is we quickly lost all that momentum, got our crosses, got our move under the 19, and we went back in our bearish area again. Some attempts at recovery, nothing that could be held because the overall economic conditions just got so horrible, in my opinion, that boom, we had that cross at and this wasn't even a cross. So I'm gonna zoom in here because I was following this and I want to show y'all what was going on in that time. Because once this thing starts to run on Bitcoin, it's also going to run USD, and this is going to be a big moment, right? In my opinion, it's one that I've been waiting quite some time for. So essentially, we kind of had the moment here. It came up, yielded us some returns, right? Didn't really kind of give us what we expected because we were fighting against a bad economic condition, even though XRP from a crypto position was strong in this area, right? We lost all that, had this strong move. So if we zoom in here real close, right, what we actually see is that as we were trying to retrace against Bitcoin and get strong and recover, right, the 3 rejected the 19. We had this back downward movement, try to come back, 3 rejects the 19. Go back down, hovers right under it. We finally fall, losing that momentum. Come back here, and we finally got this cross. So this 3 cross was pretty significant, or I should say is pretty significant, because in hindsight, we're still holding it, but was pretty significant. And because it took us a lot to finally kind of get here after moving around in that range for quite some time, right? And so this is a weekly chart. Price above 19 and a cross, right, are the things that we look for. So bam, we got it here, and I've been optimistic since, and it's been holding the 19 generally as support since, right? So we're still in that positive range, and this is against Bitcoin, right? Even under bad market conditions as far as our overall economy domestically in the United States and worldwide. But here's what I'm actually looking for. So right now we see this 9, and it is trying to cross this 19, giving us our double confirmation this price is above. So what we're looking for right now is for this week to kind of close out and this 9 to eventually confirm above the 19. And this should give us some action at going up in here and testing some of these higher moving averages that we previously tested. And I expect with both, because remember, these happen with only one cross. Like to get to this moving average only took the 3 to cross as price got above. If we go back to when this went parabolic, right, it tested that same area in this higher moving average, right, this orange or whatever line it is, right, but that was without a cross. So it was able to achieve this without a cross and was able to achieve it again with just the 1 cross. So my expectations is if we can get both crosses, right, then we should be able to come and test this last moving average, hopefully, right? So yeah, it's a good trade opportunity here against Bitcoin. Showing this in itself is just telling me that XRP is strong. So although price is sitting at 33 cents, and the average person may look at this and say price action is bad for XRP, is sitting at 33 cents. Like, when can we get back to 60s, 80s dollars, et cetera, right? I'm always just judging what the actual strength of the market is in real time. So what this action tells me, looking historically and then where we're at today, is that XRP is very strong. Why? Because it's strong against Bitcoin. It's not just strong against the dollar, right? It's strong against Bitcoin. So that's a very positive sign for XRP that I definitely want to share with you all. And we can continue to follow it if you're following along with any of this stuff. So I'm going to quickly just run through a few assets on the weekly chart and kind of see where they're all at. So nothing's kind of different, of course. This one is Cardano, sitting under the 3, use that 11 as resistance, needs to get way back up here before we turn this thing around. Just a great accumulation range. We'll go over to Solano. Same dynamics, same patterns, right? Same big breakdown happened that was easily identifiable. Don't be afraid to trade, right? Because that's where you make your money, right? Boom, use that 11 as resistance. We used it again, same position, same crosses. Nothing's really different, right? So just stack if you're a believer in Solano, wait for your trend to turn at 47, right? We'll go over to BNB. BNB is a little stronger from an asset standpoint, right? It actually has supports on the weekly. It's not just sitting, in no man's land, right? So it's interesting for BNB. It's actually a stronger asset. It has recently been above the 19, right? Lost it again and is using the 19 as resistance. So this just quick glance tells me that over this bearish market that we've been in, BNB has been holding strength in this market better than some of the other assets. We did see a rejection here that it couldn't confirm its cross over the 19 that would have continued this bullish momentum from price breaking here. And as I always stated, right, this is a good example. Not only are you looking for price to break, but you're also looking for the crosses, in which we like to have both, right? So you would have had to have the 3 cross, which it didn't. The 9 didn't even threaten. That you know that this momentum probably wasn't going to be sustainable. You lost it, and it is what it is, right? But it's readable, and that's the thing that I'm trying to get people to understand by doing this information and sharing this information, is that all of this is actually readable within a very accurate forecast, right? And so people say, oh, well, I'm not a trader, you're going to lose your money, I'm scared, I'm just going to hold, right? There's no excuse not to make yourself profitable, because the information is here within a range of accuracy that is applicable, right, to being actionable information, is what I like to often say. But yeah, we didn't get the crosses. 18 acting as resistance. It's using this beige line currently as its support. If it loses that support, then it's probably going to test its monthly support. And I've showed y'all how to find that. Always zoom out, and then bam, your next kind of support area would have been here at about 245. So if it loses that, we can kind of see where it's struggling at here on the 3, what it's trying to gain. If I zoom that down, you can see there's also lower supports. If it happens to break this range, your last line of support, 146. And so, but it's been holding strength, right? You didn't get below the 19 on this monthly chart till here, and it's quickly trying to cover. So BNB is actually showing strength. We'll go through a few more assets just here quickly. Go back to the weekly first. We'll go to XDC. I know a lot of people like this thing, so I'll look at that. Same dynamics, sitting in no man's land under the 3, hasn't even tested the 9, definitely has not made any real approach. When it did to the 19, it rejected it, right? So your recovery from a market standpoint is about 0.346. Obviously see the clear breakdown when it lost to 19, how easy it is to make your money. Your easy rejection on this retrace, 3 didn't even cross the 11. It's readable. We see this cross to continue the downward momentum. All this stuff is very readable. So you're in your accumulation range. Feel free to buy here. I've already kind of showed you where the supports were. So if you need to find those supports, jump over to Algo. I'm just running down the list of some of these. All same dynamics. 3 couldn't break above. 11 provided its resistance. Recovery is not until 41. H-bar, very kind of same thing. Breakdown, retrace, off the 11, rejected. Made another attempt at the 11 recently, I guess, with some of the Coinbase news, et cetera, rejected, back down under the 3, kind of fighting, right? Very same patterns for all of these assets. I'm definitely going to show Quant. Quant actually recovered. It got the 3 cross. Never got the blue cross, so we can continue this. So what we're looking for now, and I'm going to take this out so I can actually see this a little better. But yeah, so if we zoom in, right, and this gets hidden sometimes, the blue hasn't crossed back up. And that's what if you're a quant person, right, that's what you're trying to confirm at this point. You got your positive momentum way back here. We got kind of turned the trend. Price got back above here. But to really get the move that you're looking for, you didn't want that 3 to lose it again. It recovered, thankfully. It's trying to go back under, so you don't want that 3 to cross over the yellow. Ideally, what you're looking for is this blue line to cross over the 19 and this price to continue to stay above. And that's going to give Quant its action at turning and going higher, right? But I guess importantly, it's showing that this strength has maintained itself when it made its move off the bottom. We knew it was happening here. I kind of mentioned it. Now, we even looked at some early entries on the daily on this one, actually. But even for the weekly entries, we knew it was confirmed here. It's been doing a pretty good job. You had one little trade you made here, another one here, got back above, and it's holding. But more importantly, I'm just trying to stress, if this blue line happens to confirm this cross toward the end of the week, then this could go back up. In these areas, your highest kind of resistance at this time would be in this 150 area. So it's not a whole lot I would expect out of this, because it's definitely going to have to take this on. But if we get above that, then who's to know, right? The whole market may be turned at that time. Who knows what will be going on, but you get a good indication of the strength of this asset and what you're looking at. If this white line crosses back down, the blue fails and price gets under here, I would be, if I were in quant, I'd be looking to take some off the table and buy my quant back, whatever areas it finds back in this area. One of these strongest assets in this market actually is Ethereum Classic. I'll take a last look at that right quick. We see that it recovered back here in July, got the cross. It actually got the brew cross as well that I was talking about for quant, and that momentum has maintained it getting above all of the moving averages in that kind of price discovery range that I was trying to illustrate for quant. So that's what you want to see, because if you get the two crosses and price above, right, it continues that upward momentum. This thing is bullish. It's one of the only assets that is just absolutely bullish, right? Even the 3 is still angling up. It's above all these moving averages. You're getting cross after cross. If I zoom in even more here, right, our most recent cross was this same 11 that we were looking for, this important blue line. It crossed the very last moving average, right? Caused this to buy itself back up and get strong, hold even above the 3, right? And so that was an easy, trackable momentum trade, right? Because we could just see that all this stuff is continuing. So our next thing here we're looking for is this 19 to start crossing here, and then continue up through here just like the blue line did, and continue all that momentum. So each classic is just showing straight strength. There's nothing else really to say about it. Even if you zoomed out, right, you can see it from a zoomed out position. Broke above, 3 crossed, holding above the 19 as support. So when you look at that, from a zoomed out position, right, this thing maintained its strength, right? Had this big move going back here in 2021, went up to its high, did a little cooling off, recovered, cooling off, and recovered. This maintained strength. So it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of these assets, but I just like to show the charts say what they say, right? We can even see here when it did get bearish, it used the very last articulable moving average as support. And as I said, any support can be lost, right? So we got over here. If we're thinking, oh, well, it can't go any lower than the lowest moving average, well, we see that it can. So this was an obvious time to take some off the table, because you don't know how far down it was going to go. It just happened to stop fairly quickly. But at the end of the day, let's see if I got my ruler here. That ended up being a 40% down move, right? So yeah, you would have picked up a nice big chunk of change, right? By knowing that it's advisable to take. Let me get my pointer back. I don't like this. It's advisable to take some off the table at these last moving averages and price descends past. So yeah, you picked up 40%. If you bought here, that's the only way you picked up the 40%, right? You don't want to be too greedy, but you picked it up. You held on to it, looking for a rejection here. You didn't get the rejection. You're still holding on to it, because that's just the rules. You got to cross and things are strong. So yeah, just a quick overview of a few assets, how amazing they all stack up, how readable this information is, and how profitable you could be. Another information that I often share here. Oh, I got to stop sharing this before I change it, that you won't be able to see. Just a moment. That I often share is a look at our volumes. So I'm going to cover that just right quick. Coin market cap. Yeah, so you should be able to see that now. Kind of tells you what's going on in the market from an overview look. Bitcoin's back at kind of leading your volumes. And I'm always paying attention to this direct volume column if you have not seen it in my previous videos. But recently, Ethereum had been knocking Bitcoin off its throne here as far as direct volume was concerned. We're back kind of to a normal thing. Tether volumes historically are down with this 294. They have equaled Bitcoin or exceeded Bitcoin. Sometimes in the past, when Tether was really doing its thing, now being kind of diluted by a lot of other stable coins. But we see the kind of volume range for these assets. I think what is still a big outlier to me is this high volume that goes into Solana. Like I don't know a lot of people who are kind of really using Solana. Maybe it's just the circles that I'm in, but this seems like a push by high wealth individuals to kind of influence Solana. In my opinion, is what it is. But just seems like an outlier to me that I often indicate, right? XRP is holding in its range, right? Because it's kind of, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 range, right? I normally don't count the stable coins, uh, but it's low volume. So at 68, this is kind of a very low volume range. You'd want this to at least be in the hundreds. So low volume in XRP right now, and then we see all the other ones historically have their low volumes as well, right? So we're in a low volume market. Cardano's not even beating out XRP. This would be an outlier for Voyager, which I guess is causing this negative 15. This volume is probably a lot of sell volume. Um, Binance Coin, this is kind of low for it as well. It generally kind of hangs around with the XRP volume. Litecoin volume historically been kind of low. Polka dots, you just kind of can see some of these assets from a volume standpoint, and it quickly gets down to where you're basically dealing with almost no volume when you get down here in some of these ranges. Surprised this didn't articulate in, in order. Just a moment. So yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cosmos, Link, Litecoin, Binance, Stellar. Just going through showing you, you know, Gala sitting here at 6 million. That's kind of interesting. Terra Luna Classic negative 22. So whatever volume that is, they're just selling that thing off. Just taking a look at these, y'all. So yeah, I'm very surprised that this thing's popping up here at 5 million at 20 plus 21. Can't believe people even touching this, right? Um, but yeah, it is what it is. Uh, if you kind of see your favorite asset as I go through here, yeah, a lot of people are very, very big on Quant, but here's one thing about Quant you always want to consider. It's a very low volume asset. So it's not a whole lot of money going in this asset before your biggest dreams can come true as far as some of these expectations I see. This dynamic's going to have to change. And you're going to have to start running 100 million, 200 million for this thing to be what a lot of Twitter people like to promote it to be. Right now, it's in that very low volume range. Um, and then we get down to basically less than a million. So, yeah, even your Hedger fans, right? We got a lot of H bar fans out there get very optimistic about what Hedger can do. And from a tech standpoint, right, it has great potential, right? Team standpoint and all those things. But always remember, it comes down to volume and liquidity at the end of the day. So until we start seeing some of these dynamics change, right? Um, yeah, we can temper our expectations, right? Now, even if this goes up to 5 million, that might be 5 times this volume. It can push this from 6 cents to 12 cents, right? So it's relative, but I'm just saying for some of the overall expectations to be met, as I hear often on YouTube channels and Twitter, right? This thing is going to have to eventually start running volume, right? Right now, it's a very kind of inactive kind of thing, right? As far as how many people are actually using it, buying and trading, etc. Your big boys are back up here where on any given day you 60 to 100 million to, in case of Bitcoin, billion in daily volume. And this is your big boy. So yeah, if you're, you know, long term, your dollar cost averaging, you're preparing for your future. I like to stay in these highly liquid assets. If you want to play around in those illiquid markets, again, just do so responsibly. Um, because yeah, at the most, right, if you're dealing with $1 million in daily volume, right, um, everybody can't cash out on $1 million when you got million holders. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, I think I've kind of covered most of the information today. Um, I'll try to keep up and make sure that I do this on the week. So again, apologize about missing last week's, but again, just you should be able to see I've been doing these videos long enough now that this 19 is very actionable and tradable. The information is solid. If you have any questions, I'm very approachable. So you can hit me up on Twitter. That's pretty much where I am, right? Yeah, just hit me up on Twitter, DM me, whatever it takes. And I'll definitely, or you can hit the YouTube channel that I'm actually putting this on, right? So yeah, you can leave a comment on YouTube as well. I'll read all the comments and respond. If you have an asset you want to see me track, we can play around with that, and we'll just continue to play with this. I hope some of you are definitely benefiting from this information. It's definitely made a difference for me, and so I decided to share it with others. So thank everybody in the community that has good discussions to teach me things about some of this tech. And this is my way of sharing back. So peace, and I'll see y'all on the next one.